Think your private calls and messages are safe because they travel through encrypted channels? Think again. In a world where space-based technology is the backbone of our daily communication, a shocking new discovery reveals that satellites, those silent sentinels orbiting above us, might be secretly leaking our most sensitive information. From personal conversations to military secrets, the vulnerabilities are huge and the risks are even bigger. Today, we're diving deep into how these unprotected signals could be exposing everything and what it means for your privacy and national security. Stay tuned. The ubiquity of satellite data. Satellites have become an integral part of our lives, providing everything from GPS navigation to weather forecasting, television broadcasts, and critical military and governmental operations. These space-based systems relay data across the globe, often spanning thousands of miles in a seamless web of connectivity. Given the sensitive nature of many of these communications, corporate secrets, government intelligence, and private citizen data, you might assume that such transmissions are highly secured through encryption. However, a recent study conducted by researchers at UC San Diego and the University of Maryland paints a very different picture. Their findings suggest that roughly half of geostationary satellite signals are left unencrypted and vulnerable to interception. This revelation not only raises serious privacy concerns, but also exposes potential national security risks, as adversaries could exploit these vulnerabilities to gather intelligence or disrupt critical infrastructure. The research that shook the industry. Over a span of 3 years, the research team employed an off-the-shelf, cost-effective satellite receiver system totaling less than $800 to monitor signals from geostationary satellites visible from San Diego's La Jolla neighborhood. Their approach was straightforward but revealing. By simply pointing their dish at different satellites, they intercepted and analyzed signals that were often unprotected. Their findings were startling. They managed to capture fragments of private communications, including calls and texts from Americans on cellular networks, particularly from T-Mobile, dash browsing data from airline passengers using in-flight Wi-Fi, communications related to critical infrastructure such as electric utilities and offshore oil platforms, dash military and law enforcement transmissions from the US and Mexico, including personnel locations, equipment status, and operational details. The team's paper, titled "Don't Look Up," references the 2021 film, but also encapsulates the core issue, the complacency of satellite security, predicated on the assumption that no one would bother to look up and analyze these signals. A false sense of security, the myth of encryption. One of the most alarming aspects of the study is the widespread assumption that satellite communications are encrypted and secure. According to Aaron Schulman, a UCSD professor who co-led the research, we thought that all critical satellite data was encrypted. Instead, we found a landscape riddled with vulnerabilities. In their investigation, the researchers discovered that many satellite signals, especially those used for cellular backhaul, military communications, and industrial control systems, were transmitted without encryption. This meant that anyone with a modest satellite receiver, a few $100s in equipment, and the know-how could potentially intercept sensitive information. How did this happen? The vulnerabilities stem from an over-reliance on outdated or poorly implemented security protocols. Many satellite providers and telecom companies assumed that signals were protected by encryption, but these assumptions often prove false. The signals, particularly those used for remote cell towers, military vessel communications, or industrial operations, were broadcast openly into space, accessible to anyone with the right equipment. For example, the researchers intercepted unencrypted backhaul data from remote cell towers operated by carriers like T-Mobile, AT&T Mexico, and Telmex. In just 9 hours, they collected over 2,700 phone numbers along with call and text message metadata. While they couldn't access the full content of all conversations, only one side of the communication, they still obtained a treasure trove of information. Similarly, they uncovered unprotected military communications from US naval vessels and Mexican military units, revealing operational details and locations. Even critical infrastructure data, such as power grid communications from Mexico's state utility, CFE, was transmitted in the clear, exposing work orders, customer details, and safety information. The scale of the exposure. The scope of these vulnerabilities is immense. The researchers estimate they only accessed roughly 15% of the total geostationary satellite signals within their observational range. Given the vast number of satellites orbiting the Earth, many of which are used for vital communications. The scale of exposed data is likely much larger. Matt Green, a cybersecurity expert from Johns Hopkins University, emphasizes the severity, the fact that so much data is broadcast openly and anyone with a basic receiver can pick it up, is astonishing. This isn't just a small privacy issue, it's a national security concern. The accessibility of satellite interception. One of the most disconcerting aspects of the study is how accessible satellite interception has become. The team demonstrated that with minimal investment, an off-the-shelf satellite dish, a motorized mount, and a tuner card, they could set up a system capable of capturing these signals. The total cost was less than $800, a fraction of what traditional military-grade equipment would cost. It's not NSA-level resources, notes Matt Blaze, a cryptographer at Georgetown University. This is equipment that a dedicated hobbyist can buy and operate. The barrier to entry is extremely low, and I believe many others will quickly replicate this work. The researchers are releasing their open-source software called Don't Look Up to help others interpret satellite signals. The implications for privacy and security. The implications are profound. Personal privacy. Private calls, texts, and browsing data are vulnerable to interception, risking exposure of sensitive information. Corporate security, business communications and corporate data, including emails and operational details, are at risk. Critical infrastructure, power grids, oil platforms, and transportation systems, if unprotected, could be targeted for espionage or sabotage. Military and law enforcement. Operational details, personnel locations, and intelligence could be exposed to hostile entities or rogue actors. Moreover, the potential for malicious actors to exploit these vulnerabilities is significant. Hackers could perform relay attacks by spoofing cell towers, intercepting or even altering communications. State-sponsored espionage agencies, with their advanced equipment, could be systematically collecting intelligence on a global scale. What's being done? In response to the findings, several telecom carriers, including T-Mobile, acted swiftly to encrypt their satellite communications. T-Mobile reported that it had addressed the issue within weeks, encrypting its satellite backhaul links and implementing additional security measures. However, not all companies responded promptly or at all. Some, like Verizon and AT&T, claim that their networks are typically routed through secure, closed systems, and satellite links are used only in rare cases. Still, the researchers warn that the mere existence of unencrypted signals in the wild presents a persistent risk. The future of satellite security. The revelations prompt urgent questions about the future of satellite security and privacy. Should all satellite communications be encrypted by default? Absolutely, experts say. Encryption should be standard practice, yet many systems still rely on outdated or no encryption. How can governments and industries better protect satellite signals? Upgrading infrastructure, adopting end-to-end encryption, and implementing robust security protocols are essential. What role do international regulations play? As satellites cross borders, establishing global standards and oversight becomes critical. Eyes in the sky. The once clear boundary between secure communications and open signals has blurred. Satellites, the silent guardians orbiting above us, are revealing more than they conceal, potentially exposing personal privacy, corporate secrets, and national security to anyone with the curiosity and equipment to listen. As the world grapples with these revelations, the message is clear. It's time to look up and take satellite security seriously. Whether it's encrypting sensitive data, upgrading infrastructure, or establishing international standards, the future of secure space-based communications depends on our collective response. Meanwhile, the next time you make a call or browse online, remember, somewhere up in the sky, a satellite might be listening.